Welcome, everybody, to Sharpen That Axe, a podcast dedicated to strengthening your skills as a guitar player. And I've had a really long day, and I can still say that off the top of my head, so I'm still very impressed.
Man, it's like you have it memorized or something.
Yeah, or not open in front on a Google Doc in front of me, which I don't this time.
That's 2 times in a row, I might add.
There we go. John Gillen, how are you? Who are you?
Oh, I am currently battling keeping my voice. So in other words, I'm losing my voice. But, you know, like for the greater good, I'm going to soldier on here. Stiff upper lip and all. So
for the greater good. You just dropped like 3 or 4 Englishisms in like Britishism right there.
Yeah, I do what I can. So anyway, that's kind of where I am. What about yourself? What have you been up to this week? I think something kind of exciting.
Yeah, I'm just back from a music festival in Portugal, and I've got the post-holiday blues. And just like I was trying to get back to it's Irish June, so you know what that means: permanently overcast skies and grayness and general malaise, and
so wet in the afternoon.
Wet in the afternoon,
and also sometimes the morning.
And sometimes the night. So yes, I'm back. I'm in Ireland and I'm indoors all the time. So I'm trying to get back to playing guitar, which is what this podcast is about. Welcome everybody. If this is your first time listening, we're very happy to have you here. We are on episode 12. Good God.
So that means if it's your first time listening, go back and listen to all the others. So
yeah, you can find them wherever your podcasts are found. If you found this, it's probably in the same place that you found this.
That's probably a good bet.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about a few things this week. We're going to do the always popular pedal talk. We are going to do our new second half of our building a practice routine session. But first of all, John, it's time for Lick of the Week.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so it's my turn to pick the Lick of the Week this week, and I made it easy. I'm back from holiday. But I was listening to this a lot, so whenever you're ready, you're going to get it right away.
Okay, here we go. Oh yeah. Oh man. Okay, so there's a couple of things there, but that's it is Zeppelin, isn't it?
It is Zeppelin.
Okay, good. I was like, because it does have a little bit of that kind of like maybe it's mountain, but it just doesn't sound big enough. Because have you ever seen your man from Mountain?
I don't think so, John.
Okay, Leslie West is his name, and the guy is a mountain. He's something like 6'5", like 280 pounds, and his fingers look like bratwurst, and it sounds like it too.
Wow.
So anyway, that's not the lick. So, but tell us more. Tell us why you picked it. So,
I have very mixed feelings towards Jimmy Page as a guitar player. I love the riffs and everything, but fun fact, my favorite Led Zeppelin riff was not written by Jimmy Page. Black Dog was actually written by John Paul Jones.
Yeah.
But this is not Black Dog. This is Moby Dick, which is actually basically a 3-minute long guitar solo. But I've always that lick at the start. I've always loved it so much. Not so much the riff, but the because you can hear John Bonham counting, and you know he just made it by like the skin of his teeth. Oh. Then again, Jimmy Page produced everything, so maybe he did it like 100 times and stuck that one in there because it was the best one.
Yeah,
come fight me, Jimmy Page.
You might win at this point because he's like 80. But
I have friends in a very, very accomplished Led Zeppelin cover band,
right?
And I was talking to them about it. They're like, man, apparently some of the outtakes from the BBC sessions in like the 70s, he was just so strung out on junk that he just couldn't play anything. Apparently, like there's some live material that is super weak.
Ugh.
But you know,
so I've heard there was they did a reunion sometime, I think in the early 80s or something, and it was
the Page and Plant
ferocious. Well, not the Page and Plant. It was like for Live Aid or something.
Oh, okay.
And they came on, and it was just awful. I think Phil Collins was drumming, and then Robert Plant tried to blame it on Phil Collins, where he's trying to like count out loud. You could watch him counting out loud to try to keep everybody else on time, and just like it was just a disaster. Absolutely
is it on
terrible.
YouTube?
It is. It's a good watch. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Page, Plant, and Collins. I think it was Live Aid or something.
I'm going to be watching that through my fingers.
It's so bad. And you have to feel bad for Phil Collins because it was during this time, too, when, like, Page and Plant just had all of this animosity towards each other anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, their stage presence with each other was terrible, and then Plant ends up taking it out on Phil Collins in the after interview and stuff, and it's just like, you guys were the ones who couldn't stick anything. Plant couldn't sing either.
Collins. He's been through enough. So should we move on then?
Yeah, I think so. After
Zeppelin rant.
Yeah, after we've delved into Phil Collins, I think we've lost track. So anyway, pedal talk.
Yes.
So
last week we did an intro to multi-effects units, and we're going to continue with that by talking about some of the most popular models on the market. Now, John, you were telling me about the different ways that multi-effects are used. We talked about pros and cons, but how would you get the ball rolling with maybe one of the most popular ones out there to buy?
Okay, yeah, one of the ones that's gotten a lot of attention recently is the Kemper. So the Kemper amp is an amp profiler, and it also comes loaded with just a boatload of effects as well. Mm-hmm. The thing, essentially what it is, it's different than an amp modeler. So it's a little bit different than, say, like, we think of an amp modeler like the Line 6 Pod or something, which we'll be talking about Line 6 here in a little bit. But what this does instead is it can model any amplifier. So let's say you've got 2 or 3 great amplifiers, but you're playing a gig where you don't want to lug around all of those. What you do is you plug your guitar into the Kemper goes into the amp, and then the mic from the cab goes back into the Kemper. And so what it's doing is it's reading your guitar, it reads the microphone from the amp, and then it essentially it copies that. It's sort of like, it's taking like a sonic picture, like a sonic snapshot. In fact, one of the
I have heard of these. Yeah, no, they're really big. Yeah, I was wondering what you were talking about there. And yes, the sonic picture, that's mental.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So we'll have it in the show notes. We've got a little thing here, a YouTube video where your man kind of goes through and explains it. And it's amazing what it can do. And one of the things it does too. So it doesn't matter. Like, let's say you're playing through an AC30 and you've got it cranked, and it's got all the dirt on it, and you like that tone, and that's great. But then if you want to modify that, you can roll the gain off of it on the Kemper, and you get an AC30 clean tone. It's really incredible what this thing can do. And so, like, it's perfect for, if you're doing a bunch of studio gigs on the fly, say you've got 2 or 3 in a row in a day or something, you don't want to be changing amps out, or even in 2 days. Like, if you've ever done multiple gigs in 2 days, it's just a pain lugging different gear around. And then it's great also for things like a small recording studio. If you can't afford, or you don't want to have 10 or 15 different amps, this thing does the job. It comes with 200 presets. I feel like I should be hawking these things for them. Like, come on, Kemper, where's my free amp for selling you these things? But yeah, it comes with 200 presets. They say there's like over another 500 that you can get online. So they have a cloud bank that you can download stuff from. It's super versatile, really interesting. I think I'm talking myself into looking to buy one, but
okay, John, let's get to the part. How much are we talking for one of these?
The Kemper runs about 1,700 to 2,000, depending upon where you get it.
Crazy.
Yeah, but that's pretty similar, and it does come. So it comes in an amplifier model. I think it's 150 watts, so it'll power anything you need. But it can also go directly into a rack mount thing for studio applications as well. Plugs right into your computer, your interface. Or you can go with the rack mount option, and they're about the same price. So, which leads us to another common rack mount option. Dylan, you did some research on the almighty Axe-Fx. What did you
I did a little bit. I've just had a look now. John, you exposed me to this a few weeks ago. You showed me this video of this nerd that had found. I don't know what his name is. What's his name?
Which nerd? I don't remember.
The guy with the glasses who was like, it's better than the Axe-Fx.
Oh, he calls himself Stevie T. I honestly can't remember how to pronounce his last name.
Stevie T, if you're listening, I hate you. I hate you so much. You showed me some videos.
He's that guy. He is that guy.
But he basically, what he was saying, he had this software that was saying, but it's better than the Axe-Fx. And I was like, what the hell is the Axe-Fx? So I looked it up, and it's basically this rack-mounted unit made by, what are they called? Fractal Audio.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's just insane. Like, space for 768 presets.
Good
just like
grief.
Simulations of like 256 amps. It's just insane, and it's like before, you can plug it into your Mac or whatever, or your computer, and it's just. But then you have two different variations. You have that, and then you have the effects unit that you play on the ground, and it's basically the model as well. All these kind of look the same, the floor models, but this one is. What struck me, John, is when I think of an multi-effects unit, I think of, like, I don't know, a good old Boss something, or a Zoom something, or
Right.
something.
The classic GT5 or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. But these ones, man, it's like for the preamp itself, it's $2,249 right now.
Oof.
Down from $3,600.
Oh my gosh!
Like, that would want to be like something you'd buy once. You maybe sell one of your cars to do it,
Right.
and then you never need to buy anything else again. Like, I just do not see the appeal of something like that. I think that just even like playing around with it, you were showing me like the usability of it was really, really difficult.
Right.
So yeah, that's it. Also, fun thing about the Axe-Fx, well, not so fun thing. I was looking up reviews, and there's this one guy named Tony McKenzie who it's kind of a scathing review of all these things. It's just, just says how long it took to deliver, and how much he was treated badly as a customer. And
Yeah.
he said that he left maybe a review of it online that wasn't so pleasing to the owner, and the owner left some really negative comments for him, and just said it was I don't know. And it's mad how something like that could really put you off buying gear. But just reading that review,
yeah, I think I've seen that review. Isn't it like why I'll never buy another Axe-Fx or something like that?
He gives it a 2 out of 10, and when you're buying gear that's like $3,500, like, you'd think you'd do a better job. Anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do have a question though. So the floor version, it's essentially the same thing, but it's just it's kind of like one of those old school Boss GT type things.
Kinda, yeah. It has 512 presets, and you've got like 64 banks kind of laid out to do it. Okay. You can import a lot of stuff from the rack, essentially.
Okay.
Like, I'm still fairly new to the world of multi-effects, and it looks like all the other ones, but a lot of the words are just gibberish to me. Cascaded, overdriven rock tones. It's just it's mental, just the language that they use.
To be honest, I don't even know what that means. Cascaded.
Neither do I. It's very highfalutin language, as we'd say.
Apparently.
Okay, but you actually talking about the next one last week, the
right.
Boss MS3. Tell us about the Boss MS3.
Yeah, so Boss is doing some interesting things. Their katana's gotten a whole lot of love recently on the Guitarist Ireland page. So
I'm not going to talk about the guitar. It's just it's a tidal wave of opinion.
Yes. So
lads, I love you all. If you're listening, you probably are. But yeah,
I hope somebody's listening from there. But anyway,
yeah,
they it's the MS3 is kind of an interesting little thing. So we were just talking about all the GT models. They've got a bunch of new GT models out. But the cool thing about the MS3 is it's actually a programmable switcher, and it has the integrated multi-effects. So that means if you've got a few pedals that you really like, we've talked about like some of the boost pedals, like the clean boost pedals that you love, or maybe you've got a compressor, or say you're running some other things, like maybe you've got a Strymon or something, but you need a few extra things to stack onto it, or maybe you've got a weird, like, how often do you really use your deep flange or something like that? So, like, not very often, but you might find one song somewhere, like an obscure Prince song that you end up playing in a cover band. There's no need to carry that pedal around with you all the time or to adjust it. So instead, something like this is really useful because you can, it's just programmed right in there, but then you still have the rest of your effects. it allows you to switch them on and off. So you can, if you want your reverb and your drive pedals on, but you want your chorus off, you can do that as well. It has another ridiculous number of presets. I can't remember, something like 200, and then a bunch of user programmable ones as well. It also has MIDI and USB connectivity, so it means you can hook it up to your computer.
It's a good thing, and I know it's a really kind of it's a very obvious thing, but it's quite dinky. It's quite easy to carry around. I like the idea of that. The Axe-Fx one is like 6 kilos or something.
Oh my gosh!
So yeah,
that's huge. Yeah. So for this, again, links in the show notes. But the watch the video that's linked to it, just because.
It's really convincing. I was like, oh, what is that? I want it.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but I want, one of those kind of things. Yeah, but it really caught my eye, and I'm not that much of a gear nerd. But.
Yeah, and it's like you were saying, it's small. I mean, it's a Guitar Pro Shop, I think, or Pro Shop Guitar, whatever it is, and they have it like sitting on the neck of a Les Paul. Like, that's how small it is. So it fits on any pedal board. So, yeah, excellent. The other one too, and this is one that that I actually have, is the Bias FX. Now I've got the computer version of it. So it's both a VST, so that's a Visual Studio Technology, but they also make an amp head and a rack unit, sort of like the Kemper. And the cool thing about this, like I said, I use it every day, particularly when I'm teaching. It's just simple. I plug in, everything sounds great. Clean tones sound great. Lead tones sound great.
And it costs much. Like, costs you like €60 or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's something like €60 from Thomann. It's like $80, $80 US. That's the intro version. Then there's the pro version, which gives you a whole bunch more amps and effects to play with. More artist models. There's a bunch of cloud tones, so you can also save your stuff to the cloud. The cool thing about this, though, is with the amp, if you purchase the amp head as well, everything you have on your computer can be programmed straight into the amp. So anything that you're already working on there, and it's only the amp head, I think right now it's between 800, which it's on sale, and like 1,000. So just look for a sale and you can get a pretty good deal on it. It's like a 100-watt head. Similar deal to the Kemper, in that if you're using it with Bias Amp, which is one of the computer programs, then it gives you the opportunity to model any amp that you already are playing through. So again, it's one of those things that you can take to the studio, that if you need a silent stage, you just plug the computer into the amp, and then you plug the amp into the soundboard, and you run off of in-ear monitors, and it brings stage volume way down. And that's kind of one of the big things with most of these, is you can run straight into the board and cut the whole messing around with monitors and feedback and all that nonsense just goes away, and you just get in-ear monitors. So anyway, we've got one more, and you've got kind of a nostalgic feeling to some of these things. So tell us about the Line 6.
Well, when I was Line 6, just it's got two corresponding memories for me. One of them is showing up at like an underage metal gig or whatever, and the only amps there were the Line 6 Spiders, and it's like a dirty word now in the kind of guitar community, because it's just such a clunky, kind of unversatile amp. But then again, you've got, when I was starting to learn guitar and I couldn't get any decent sounds out of my crappy little practice amp, I borrowed a Line 6 Pod off a family member, and it was just beautiful. Everything, I'd never heard anything like it.
It was kind of revolutionary. I mean, it was the first thing, like, you could have all these different sounds just right there in your room and plug it into anything. Yeah.
And it was just led to like the floor pod and everything. But one thing I was looking at this week was the Line 6 Helix guitar processor, which is I gotta say, visually it's really, really nice. It's really, really clean. There's not a lot of marks on the board. It's just got a really nice big display. I was looking at it. Yeah, it's basically 45 amps, 30 speakers, 16 mics, and 70 effects. It's got like some crazy crazy effects on it. It's really, really, it's basically kind of like an all-in-one, like all of these are. But one thing that really struck me is that it is on Thomann.ie, which would be the kind of like the biggest one that people would go for. It's the number one multi-effects guitar unit sales wise.
That's interesting.
Yeah, €900, and then you've got like the bigger one, which is 1,222. But it's like it says everything you must need, and it must be really reliable. It's got a heap of 4 or 5 star reviews. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about it. I looked at some demos online. To be honest, I reached a point with a lot of these where it all just kind of blends into one. But I think it's seems to be quite popular. I think it's great that the Line 6 do still have such a strong arm in the multi-effects kind of, you know, arena, which is where they the pod was so revolutionary.
That's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like it would be. So all these things we're talking about are kind of like right around that €1,000 price range, except maybe the XFX, which is 2,500.
The MS3 is quite cheap as well. I think. Well, it's cheaper than them.
Yeah, it is. Like I actually don't have the price in front of me, but yeah, I think that one's like 400 or something like that. So you can correct us if we're wrong. Leave a comment, etc., etc. But yeah, it kind of an interesting grouping of things. And so far, I would say personally, I'd lean towards the Kemper or maybe the Bias head. Like if I had to pick one of these things, and money was not an issue, I would probably skip the Axe-Fx. Even if I had the money for it, I kind of feel like that's not. It just may not be the most practical thing. So moving on.
Yeah.
Last week. There you go. If this were scripted,
so polite.
it would go a lot smoother.
But it's not. We keep things on the edge. Wild cards.
Living on the edge. Thank you, Steven Tyler. So
they're playing in Ireland tonight. You know that.
I saw that. Yeah. There's somebody else playing too, and I don't remember who it is. Devin Townsend, I think, is also in Dublin. Yeah, that guy's mental.
He's insane.
I think literally, not to like be down on that necessarily, but yeah, I don't think he's well in the head.
Moving on.
So
we're going to conclude our segment, which we started last week, and we were like, we're not going to get all of this done at all. So we are talking about building a practice routine. So we've got a few points that we're like to contribute to building your own practice routine, stuff that we've found quite, helpful, I suppose. So we start off with we're talking about songs, and so like the importance of learning songs and learning solos. I remember reading an interview with Dimebag Darrell, and he said that one of the biggest things you can do is learn solos verbatim, because it just opens you up to so many techniques and phrasing. I suppose it gives you a really good idea of phrasing, which Pantera are famously amazing at.
Right.
So I think that's a really good way of doing it. I remember learning, like, I think I've talked about this before, like the Hotel California solo, which is amazing because you can just break it down into segments.
Yep.
And take it bit by bit. A lot of the best solos are like beautifully phrased, so you can break it down and take like one section for like a week and then the next section for another week. And yeah, I think that's really, really a really, really good way of like incorporating that into your practice routine, so that you're not just playing licks, you know?
Yeah.
Playing like bits of songs and learning how they work with the chords.
Yeah, I think it's good to go through and just learn a whole song, you know, which can also be really beneficial. And sometimes that's hard to do, but you know, I've talked before about picking apart like a Steve Vai song. But the key is to just kind of break things down into small chunks. I think Ryan Kershaw a couple episodes back talked about that too. Like that's a big thing for him. But this just kind of taking something and realizing like, hey, just take 4 bars at a time. And if that's all you get through, that's fine. But there's so much to get out of it. You know, and if you take a solo, since we were talking about solos, one of the ones I like to teach is the solo for Comfortably Numb.
Oh,
you know, and it's so tasteful. It's a great example of playing to the chords that are over the progression. I mean, it starts with that D major arpeggio just right at the beginning. And it's a perfect example of how to use that. He sweeps it. So there you go. There's a little technique thing in there. And his vibrato, like that's the big thing I like to hit on when it comes to David Gilmour stuff. His vibrato is so careful and so tasty. on everything he does.
Yeah, same.
So anyway, yeah, so that's kind of songs and solos. I think those are an important, plus it keeps it fun. This is why we started playing in the first place. Like,
I think it's really cool if you're like even just playing guitar with like friends or just music lovers in general, and you can like have these bits off verbatim. Just have like little guitar parts off. It's really, really good. It's really, really cool.
How to impress your friends and influence people
with guitar. So what's our next point, John?
One of the things that I like to do is jamming, because it kind of coalesces a lot of the other things we've talked about. So whether it's solos, warm-ups, or technique stuff, this is an opportunity to kind of bring it all together. For me, solos are kind of like a way to learn the language. Think of music as a language, and what you're doing is you're building a vocabulary when you learn songs and solos. Jamming then is you making your own sentences. You just taking what you've got, your language, and you're spitting it out on the metaphorical page. So
you paint with words, Gillen. You really do. I like that though. I like that metaphor. It's deep, man.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So,
of course, like I don't know, just the whole idea of jamming, putting things into a musical context is very important. I find even with just like I saw Philip Knight was talking about the two most important guitar players for a bedroom guitar player, and one of them was a looping pedal, so that you can, first of all, it gives you a sense of timing, but it also gives you someone to play with.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great thing. Like, so, when you're jamming, like, it can be really loose. It could be you put down one chord because you're trying to figure out, like, what can I play over an A minor chord or whatever, besides your pentatonic scale, please. So, nothing but love for pentatonic scales, but...
Yeah, my little heart just broke there a little bit.
So, you just put down a chord or two chords or whatever, and it gives you something to work with. Sit down with a friend, because that's part of the reason we play music, community, etc. There's loads of backing tracks on YouTube.
Yeah, if you haven't got any friends, just you can go on YouTube. YouTube is your friend.
If you're playing guitar so you can get friends, then...
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Building bridges. And I suppose the last thing... I suppose just listening as well, like just listening to turning on. I remember, I just like a guitar teacher before told me he used to just like turn on the radio and just play along to whatever he heard, and just like melodies or whatever. Even if it's just like a top 40 station, you can get something from everything. Even if you just take like, say, a fucking Katy Perry song and you get the chorus, if you can like try and harmonize with that chorus by yourself, it's going to make you a better player.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just have to listen to it.
I think I learned a lot from just copying things stylistically, if that makes sense. So it may not have been verbatim, but it would be kind of like, okay, I can hear what this guitar player is doing in this situation, just from different pop tunes. So you kind of get an idea of tone, kind of what tone's appropriate for someone's voice or a particular instrumentation, and what type of chord voicings this guitar player is using for that situation. And so you can learn a lot from it. And then I would also say just listening to yourself while you play.
Yeah,
so if you're not listening to how all of this stuff is sounding and you're just mechanically going through the motions, you're really cutting your learning short, because you end up sloppy, you end up out of time, you end up hitting the wrong notes and not paying attention to it. So use your ears, people. So
for God's sake, use your ears. Yeah, no, absolutely.
So anyway, we had I think 6 points here. So just to recap, we have 6 practice essentials, or six things to build your practice routine. We've got warm-ups, technique, scales and arpeggios, and then songs or solos, and then jamming and listening. So that's kind of, there you have it.
Like we said, if there's anything you missed there, please go back. We have an episode from last week, which is just it's all there from if you've missed anything from this week. So there you have it. Okay, well, speaking of listening, so what have we been listening to, Mr. Murphy? Seamless segue.
Oh yes.
I've kind of got that. I really, really enjoyed the music festival. I was at Primavera, and there was some stuff. I mean, there wasn't a lot of guitar music there, but at the same time, I picked up on a lot. I just loved seeing the performances and just seeing how things were done. The Bon Iver set was incredible.
Oh man.
Yeah, so that just from a musical point of view, just seeing what was going on. So apart from that, I'm kind of coming down off that whole thing. Not off drugs, don't do drugs, but off the whole musical experience. But I did just find out recently that I am now going to be paid to review. Brian Wilson is playing in Galway in July, so I'm being commissioned to write a review for the Irish Journal of Music, so I'm very excited about
the that. Brian Wilson?
The Brian Wilson is playing Pet Sounds in its entirety as part of the Galway Arts Festival.
Holy cow, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, so I haven't listened to that album in quite a while, so I'm going back to that.
Yeah, the harmonies are amazing on that. The fact that the way he just like controlled everything in that album is incredible.
There's an amazing thing as well, if you can get a chance, it's on Spotify, is the outtakes, the complete sessions from Pet Sounds, and you can listen to him like adjusting the orchestra, just saying like, you know, because he was only had hearing in one ear, but he could say, okay, the trombone player needs to take a step to his left, you know. It's insane, his control over the music.
Wow.
So, yeah, and it's important. Also, I went back to, because it's the 50th anniversary? Yeah, it's the 50th anniversary of Sgt. Pepper's this week.
Oh,
so,
right.
So I went back to that and listened to that a couple of times on my way back from Portugal. And yeah, man, insane.
Holy cow.
So good, so good. How about you? What you been listening to?
Thanks again to Spotify. So I came across a singer-songwriter from Norway, of all places.
Norway!
Yeah. Pun intended. So his name is David Andre Ostby ? I'm not Norwegian, so if anyone speaks Norwegian, please help me to pronounce that. But yeah, what I found interesting is it does kind of have some of that Scandinavian guitar influence, more sort of your kind of I don't know if ethereal is the right word, but it's spacious. We'll put it that way. You know, when you think of kind of like Sigur Rós and all those delays and those sorts of things. I know Sigur Rós is Icelandic, right? Or Swedish?
Icelandic.
I can't remember. Icelandic. Okay. So technically they're not Scandinavian, but whatever. So, but yeah, anyway, so interesting singer-songwriter. I don't understand any of the words he's saying because I don't speak Norwegian, but just the music and the ambiance, it's been cool to check it out. And I would recommend checking it out. There's some interesting remixes that he has on his Spotify channel as well, if you feel the need for a dance beat. So anyway, moving on to what have we been working on. So I'll leave that up to you to do the first one then, Mr. Murphy.
Okay. Well, the first thing I picked up on, I heard this. I hadn't really been inspired to really work on anything since coming back, and then my girlfriend and I finished season 1 of Better Call Saul last night. And I don't know if you've watched it, but the opening has this really, really cool. Just it's like a 30-second guitar part, guitar riff, and I was like, I really, really like the sound of that. It's kind of got this big kind of almost Tom Waitsy vibrato, distorted guitar. So actually, in the hour before we were recording, I sat down and listened to it a bunch of times. And I wasn't going to look up tabs. I was just going to figure it out by ear.
Good man.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. Just something there, something to get me back. Like as soon as we finish now, I'm probably going to go back to that.
Cool.
So yeah, how about you? What have you been working on?
So having been back into sort of the teaching realm over here and just kind of digging in, been interesting to get a lot of different things kind of coming my way. But one of the other teachers that we've hired, he's been working on like speed bursts. In scales, and in particular, he's starting at a really slow tempo, say like 40 or 50 beats per minute, and then just really trying to find like a 30-second burst. So play 16th notes and then a quick burst of 30 seconds. And it's a really interesting idea because there's a couple of things there. One, you're working on speed, but two, you're really also working on your sense of timing. So how does a group of notes fill a particular space, whether that's 16th notes in a quarter note or 30 seconds in a really long quarter note, just being able to get that sense of timing correct. Is
Cool.
It's interesting. It's challenging. It's a different way to play your scales too. A lot of players, I think Al Di Meola is a good example to listen to when it comes to stuff like this, because he'll play like a nice little melodic lick and then something that just goes really fast, blows your mind, and then it's back into the melody, and you're just like, I can't believe you did that. So
you gotta love that though. It's kind of, being able to play it, being able to show off every now and again is grand.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the whole point. That's why we play guitar in the first place, isn't it?
It is. God,
anyway,
it is.
I think that's about it for us.
I think
today.
So yes, everybody, tell your friends. We're on all the social medias. Sharpen that axe. Come find us. Say hi. Leave us an email. What would you like to hear us discuss? And whether you're a newbie or advanced or somewhere in the middle, get on to us.
Yeah, give us a tweet.
Absolutely.
Or a like or whatever, a share, a subscribe, a heart. I don't know. Any of those things. A hug.
Unreal. Yeah.
A virtual hug.
Stay sharp, my friends.